Worth the War. My name is Kimmy. The purpose of this channel is to prepare you to love well and to avoid abuse. If you think we can do a better job with love and relationship than we're doing in the modern culture, then you found the right place. Today is the third in a series called A Practical Approach to Narcissism, and we're going to cover how to work for a narcissistic boss. If you or anyone you've known has ever gone through an interview and left thinking, this is probably going to be the best job I have ever had or the best boss I've ever worked for, and when you got to the reality it was absolutely a nightmare, you may very well have had or have a narcissistic boss. We're going to cover quite a few things that you can prepare yourself for and handle to be able to cope well with a narcissistic boss. I'm also going to remind you that sometimes you can actually learn something from them. Down below in the notes I'll cite some resources. You can actually learn how a narcissist can cast a vision, how they can be eloquent with their words, charismatic, or possibly even really good under pressure. There are some things that are actually good that we can learn from narcissists. Once you're aware that you are more than likely working for a narcissist, it's very important that you put together a tool belt that you can use to protect yourself. The first thing that we can do is develop a list of qualities that we would expect in our narcissistic boss so that nothing can surprise us. We would expect that they would have silver tongues but weak follow-through. Expect them to be thefts of your hard work, generous with blame. They will need and want the spotlight and the credit. They will also be fluent in a passive-aggressive communication style. They won't have a problem with you being in pain, and they will have no altruistic interest in your success or career. They will not worry about moral constraints, even though they may verbally say that they do. You should expect no fairness or equity. It'll be a foreign concept to them. You can assume that they will accept no reality except the ones they create in their own minds. They will command your respect, but they will give you none. You can count on the language to change depending on the narrative that's required. Be prepared that even cautious criticism may ignite fury. Understand that in this work environment, there will be a class system. They will be superior and everyone else will be inferior. It would be realistic to assume that the majority of alliances with this boss will be short-lived. And lastly, it's not unusual at all for there to be underlings or minions within a group culture that will report back to this narcissistic boss. Understanding the nature of a narcissistic boss and work environment is more than half of the battle. If you are prepared for things, they are going to be less likely to rock your world. But there are a few things that you can do to actually make the path even a little better, even a little smoother. One of those things is we know that a narcissistic boss is looking for credit and for praise. Look for authentic ways that you can give that to them. I'm not advocating lying here. I don't think that ever pays off, and it usually comes off inauthentic. Don't lower yourself to anybody else's standards, but if there are things that they do well, point them out. It shouldn't surprise any of us when we look at the list we just went through that narcissists probably don't see a lot of loyal team members. But you can be loyal to the group that you work in and want to work for its success. In doing so, you actually may surprise the narcissist in ways. You probably also shouldn't be surprised that a narcissist is going to be higher on the scale of paranoia. It's pretty important that we remember that we don't want to engage in a ton of office gossip, and that's a win-win for us. Staying out of gossip is good for us generally, and you never know if the person you're talking to might just be one of those minions we were talking about. It also might be a good time in your career to be able to take your criticisms and wrap them up like a bomb squad would. It's not a bad skill to know how to bring criticism to somebody in a way that almost doesn't feel like one, and when you work for a narcissist, that's a good time to learn. Together, we've been able to look at some things we would expect if we work for a narcissist, some things we would see in the environment. We've also talked about a few things that we can do to keep the waters calm so we can get our job done, we can survive. Now let's look at how can we protect our mental health and our emotional health as we work in this environment. In our last video, A Practical Approach to Narcissism in Groups and Cultures, we talked about how to survive that group or culture emotionally and mentally. A lot of those tips are going to apply directly here as well. You cannot overestimate the difficulty of working in a narcissistic environment like this. You need somebody on the outside that is trustworthy, that will never leak back into your work world, that you can share everything with. How you're responding, what you're seeing. Sometimes we don't really realize how messed up something gets until we describe it to somebody else. So you need to have that safe place. You also need to have a life that you look forward to going home with. If you're going to work in that kind of environment, you need to remember that it's a part of your life. It isn't your life. It's also a good idea to work with a career counselor to really figure out how long do you have to be in this environment and how would the best exit really come about. If things get really bad, it's a good thing to remind yourself this is not going to be your life. It doesn't have to be your life. You need to have a proper perspective. And again, that person on the outside should be someone that you can trust with that. I hope something here has been helpful for you, that you can take home and that you can use, that it will help you survive with a narcissistic boss, or if someone that you love has to work in that environment, that you're able to better help them. If you found anything of any value, please join us on this journey. We would love to have you. The more of us that are together, the louder our voice will carry. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you soon.